Hi, this is Majo John Madden. Uh, John Madden is my legal name. Majo, M-A-J-O, was my nickname in Asheville, North Carolina, where I am right now, from 2004 to 2020. Juanito is my nickname or apodo in Mexico, where I live these days. It's my favorite name, it means Johnny, my favorite childhood name. So you could make a case for not making this video right now. I am suffering from a UTI, urinary tract infection, which has me not enunciating correctly. For over 2 months, I've been dizzy and weak from UTIs and kind of slurring my words, which I'm an old award-winning public speaker, so it's a big blow to my ego to be not enunciating correctly. But there are reasons to make it right now. Mission Hospital in Asheville, North Carolina is a place I have a lot of history with for those 16 years I was in Asheville. And I just said to a woman named Eva Dora, who's a nurse director of the hospital and cruises around doing customer satisfaction interviews, basically. And I told her I would make this video. It's not the first time I've recorded it. It has to do with a pretty terrible experience I had in this hospital 5 years ago, which my feelings have softened a lot because the two experiences I've had in the last 2 weeks have been terrific, really perfect. And I forgive Mission. There's a lot of reasons why it was not on its best game 5 years ago. It was the height of the COVID, September of 2020. The nurses were not on strike, but they were organizing. They were in the process of joining a big national nurses union because the hospital had been bought out by a for-profit company that was alienating really the whole community at that point. They seem to somehow be over most of that these days. The esprit de corps, the morale in the hospital has really seemed great. Virtually every person I've dealt with has been super. I'm going to do this in 2 installments. One is a big backstory that sets up my 36 hours in the hospital here in that September. Big backstory to why it was such a wild and crazy experience. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'll tell the story of what happened here. So the big backstory is I'm 78, so how long is this going to be? I had a brilliant, I think by any objective measure, I had a brilliant career as a clinical psychologist and then as a management consultant who worked with AT&T as an internal consultant for 4 years at the height of its glory in the late 80s, largest company in the world. And then took a new job in Cincinnati, Ohio, to be closer to my teenage son. And experienced a perfect storm of life crises. One was leaving Chicago, which was my home and amazing support network, and just the town that works for me. Chicago still does. And a job that was an extraordinarily exciting job. For a not exciting job with the power company in Cincinnati, which my field of organization development, career development, management, coaching, helping. At AT&T, you could help employees speak truth to power. That's a lot of what we did was participative management. Get the employees to tell the truth to their boss about what was not working and was working in their teams and make those conversations work. It was extraordinarily exciting work. Cincinnati, the power company, which doesn't even exist anymore, Cincinnati Gas, it was bought out. I did that and pulled it off and made it work in a company that was not ready for it at all, and was told by my boss's boss, the head of human resources, after being there about a year, Madden, everything you touch here turns to gold. And then a month later, my boss fired me because he was threatened by me. I'd moved to Cincinnati to be closer to my son. It didn't work. It worked between him and I. He really loved seeing Dad twice a week. We adored each other through most of his youth. And for me, it just rubbed my nose in the fact that he had not grown up in my home. We split up when he was 2. And now I was saying goodbye to him twice a week instead of once a month. And it was crushing me. And in the middle of all that vulnerability, my sex abuse memories came back with a vengeance, grislier and grislier and grislier. And it was a perfect storm of life crises, and I fell apart. I fell apart. And Stanislav Grof, I will give the reference to his book, Stormy Search for Self. He is a transpersonal psychologist who talks about the spiritual side of personal growth and says that could be a wonderful experience if you had the right spiritual coach to say to you, good, career is not who you really are. It's something you do and make a contribution, but it's not who you really are. Even family is not who you really are. The spiritual question is, who are you really? Who are you really? And at a moment like that, when family and career are falling apart, the right coach could help you go right there and transform yourself. But that in our society, mostly there are not deeply spiritual coaches. Most religious leaders know rules, no rituals, but don't know the spiritual life at its heart. So that in our Western society, you get taken to the doctors, who are the gods these days. And in the US, they'll take you to the psychiatrists, who know essentially nothing about trauma, nothing. And as a clinical psychologist myself, I'm here to say they don't know much about nothing. They don't. They're bluffing. Mostly, in my experience, psychiatrists are bluffing. They have meds they stole from other things that help a little bit. They put names on things like bipolar disorder. They put a name on it. The number of people who are genuinely biochemically bipolar is very small. But I got diagnosed as clinically depressed and then bipolar, and spent 30 years believing it, crushed by the diagnosis. You say, oh, well, it helps because it gives you a reason to understand why you are that way. No, it confirms that you're mentally ill, wrong, flawed, broken. It hurts much more than it helps. And the drugs help dramatically more people than they hurt, more people than they help. They take the edge off. They help you not feel the pain, and thus not able to release the trauma and genuinely heal. So 30 years, I spent 30 years that way. There's the backstory, and we're at 9 minutes. I think I may let that set right there, and then we'll go to the story of what happened at Mission Hospital 5 years ago. Yeah, I think that's good right there. Okay.